As all great stories begin, I was on Twitter the other day. I did your typical Twitter things, between scrolling and mashing my keyboard at the sight of crystal clear rage bait, but then something unheard of happened to me. I saw a tweet that made me think. Objectively bad games don't exist, lol. Pretty much everything revolves around personal taste. Some people just don't like something because it doesn't suit their own taste, and that's perfectly fine, says one Bongo. And what's more, I agreed with it. Even when I liked the tweet, scrolled, and continued my journey wading through the mud in search of short-term dopamine bursts, I couldn't help but wonder why this was such a foreign concept to some people. I figured most people would have learned the difference between fact and opinion as far back as the first grade. Many a person quote-tweeted this Bongo character, listing games they viewed as objectively bad, such as the likes of Devil May Cry 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, and others. Meanwhile, there remain people who agreed with Bongo and me, saying that even if a game is disliked unanimously, it's not objectively bad because that's not how opinions work. This made me wonder, why do people attempt to critique an artistic medium like video games on an objective scale? How do I disprove the commonly perceived notion that a game's quality can be measured like the volume of a flask? Well, today, I'm going to attempt to answer these questions. Let's start with some established parameters. First and foremost, I'm making these statements with the idea in mind that video games are an art form. The main idea of this video, that critiquing games with an objective lens is anti-art, requires that video games be art to begin with. So, for the sake of discussion, this will be the assumption we make, although the topic itself is interesting enough to where I will consider making a video on whether or not games are art in the future. Secondly, even though video games are the primary topic, this argument applies to other art forms as well. Movie discussion is plagued by poisonous discourse surrounding whether it's objectively correct or not to dislike The Godfather. Music conversations involve people telling you that if you don't like Radiohead's OK Computer, then you deserve to go to music hell and listen to every Maroon 5 album on eternal repeat except for songs about Jane. You'll be seeing me use other artistic mediums as examples later on to strengthen the main idea surrounding video games specifically, although again, video games will remain the main topic of this video. Get it? Got it? Good. The first point I want to make is that when many people talk about objectively good or bad games, they simply mean commonly beloved or hated games. And this is simply not the way you define objectivity. The collective opinions of the masses don't become fact just because they're often agreed upon. The Earth remained the third planet from the Sun even when people believed in geocentrism worldwide. Air remains a mixture of oxygen, carbon dioxide, argon, and nitrogen, even if most people suddenly start believing that it's exclusively nitrogen. Similarly, no matter what the mob thinks of Devil May Cry 2, that does not make it a factually bad game by any meaningfully quantifiable measure. I don't even like Devil May Cry 2, and I could list many reasons why. But these reasons aren't evidence of Devil May Cry 2 being a bad game, they're just qualities that make up the game itself. I could look at Van Gogh's Starry Night and criticize the amount of blue on it, but the color blue doesn't make Starry Night bad. It's, in fact, integral to the art piece. There could be a myriad of reasons as to why I don't like Starry Night's use of the color blue. It could be that I think it drowns out the other colors, that it elicits an emotion from me that I don't like, or that I simply don't like the color blue. Every time someone criticizes a game and uses an aspect of the game they don't like as reasoning, just know that it's the same kind of scenario as if I were to criticize the use of blue in Starry Night. Whether you like it or not, anything you critique about a video game is instrumental to the game's existence, and it being there is just a fact of life, not evidence of the quality or lack thereof within the game. Let's look at Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, or just Sonic 06. Many things can be said objectively about Sonic 06. Sonic 06 is objectively full of unintended bugs and glitches that deviate the game from the developer's intended product. Sonic 06 objectively does not meet the same technical performance targets that many of its contemporaries do, including frame rates and overall technical efficiency. Sonic 06 objectively has many inconsistencies in its plot, pacing, and character writing. Sonic 06 objectively spends a disproportionate amount of time loading new areas when compared to, again, its contemporaries. Sonic 06 is objectively viewed as bad by many gamers. But, of all these things, being bad itself is not something that Sonic 06 objectively is. Michelangelo's statue, Moses, was born from a mistake. When sculpting, Michelangelo based his artistic vision on St. Jerome's mistranslation of the word glowing or radiant in the Hebrew Bible when describing Moses' face, instead writing horned. Because of this, Moses' eponymous statue depicts the character with these now iconic horns on his head, and this sculpture is praised almost universally. This is an example of the general critical response to a piece of art being elevated by a mistake, and there are many others. If Sonic 06's bugs make it objectively bad, then does this mean everyone who praised Michelangelo's work is suddenly incorrect? Both products are almost entirely defined in the public eye by their mistakes and missteps. However, Moses remains acclaimed and looked back on as a masterpiece, whilst Sonic 06 rots in infamy. Does this mean there are good and bad mistakes in art? I don't think so. A mistake, just like a work of art and any other part of it, is neither good nor bad. It simply is. Art is art because it's human. It's a human-made work that appeals to the human condition and is both conceived and consumed by the human mind above all else. So why do I call objective critiques anti-art? It's because they strip art and its consumption of humanity. They homogenize the consumption of art into this congealed blob of the collective opinions of the hive mind. They eliminate outliers and purify the forum of any friction or discourse whatsoever. Almost in a fascistic sense, they purge the individual resonance and non-universality that makes art so beautifully human, all in pursuit of people feeling correct about their perspectives. I personally think that this idea of objective criticism, whether a game is objectively good or objectively bad, stems largely from a lack of confidence in one's own viewpoint. Almost a collective psychosis or mass hysteria born of a post-truth society. Or perhaps this collective psychosis is what has created our post-truth world to begin with. In any case, these people believe that if everyone is valid in their thoughts, then no one is, and that scares them because it includes them. They need people who think in the minority to be incorrect so that they in the majority can feel more correct. And in the gaming community, if this means stripping a video game of everything that makes it art, then so be it. So they claw away at the walls of artistic consumption and erode it into Metacritic scores, supposed unbiased analyses that only tackle the material on a surface level and eliminates all emotion. People like this are a pretty substantial reason for why the debate remains as to whether or not video games are art. Reducing video games to objective qualities and measurements rather than how they make you feel as a human being rhetorically transforms them into something lifeless and inhuman, a statistic for shareholders to gawk at. It turns development into an extension of capital rather than a creative process. It turns a video game into an asset to be consumed by monetary cattle across the world rather than a unique work made to resonate with human beings. It's the same kind of reduction that you often see when these same people discuss how many hours of content is available in a video game. They're reducing art to its use value, stripping it of its humanity, and by proxy, the consumer of theirs. It's this kind of rhetoric that empowers corporate entities to overwork their teams, AI-generate content to cut costs, and turn the consumer into a cash cow, all while seeking to jump their Metacritic scores to that magic number of 80 to validate their thoughtless consumer base and convince them that they're selling a worthwhile product, rather than a piece of art to be engaged with on an intellectual and emotional level. As I write this, I notice that the majority of these people who decide their opinions based on objectivity like to say things along the lines of bad art exists or letting people enjoy things is bad for gaming. I find it funny that they say this because, as I said before, part of what makes art art is the fact that it's human. It can be engaged with from so many different angles by so many different people from so many different walks of life. To say that letting people enjoy a game is antithetical to the medium's artistic integrity, well, In an ironic twist of fate, that's antithetical to art itself. And as vitriolic as I sound, I'm not attempting to slight these people. Instead, I'm attempting to challenge them. If you're someone who believes that there is an objective way to view video games, I'm challenging you. Try playing a video game you think is objectively good that you've never played before. Ideally, one that falls out of your comfort zone. After playing, answer yourself these questions. Did you enjoy what you played? Specifically, when removing your opinion from the equation, do you think the game is good? Now, are these two answers different? Why? Does the second answer even matter if it differs from your personal experience engaging with it? Are you perhaps telling yourself the game is good because you don't want to feel as though you wasted your time playing it? Do you consider these games objectively good to validate your time spent, even if you might not have enjoyed it the same way others do? Are you afraid of wasting your time on a game you won't like? Do you then refuse to play games widely perceived as bad because you don't want your time to feel even more wasted? Do you feel limited by your own tastes, or perhaps even insecure about them? I'm not going to follow up these questions with some form of profound revelation. I'm asking these questions so that you can find that revelation within yourself. You, just like any other human being, deserve the most raw experience when approaching art, so that you can appreciate it for everything it is, warts and all. The artistic experience is as much up and down as life is itself, and you deserve to feel the lowest lows so that the highs that resonate with you the most bring you to levels of jubilation you'd never thought possible before. So I call you to action here. Step out of your comfort zone to appreciate as much as you can within the gaming world and outside of it. Play games you never would have thought about until now. And if you don't like it, see that experience not as a sour taste in your mouth to scoff at or something that's objectively bad, but instead as an opportunity to look inward and learn about yourself and your own personal tastes. Life is self-discovery. Art is self-discovery put into corporeal form. Life is art. Art is life. Life is beautiful. Art is beautiful. So just like you would embrace your own life, embrace art.